We can get to our seats. We got a great presentation coming up from one of my good friends, one of the best security electronics companies in the country, TJ Rogers. He's the CEO. I don't even need a bio card for him. We've been working together now for almost 20 years. We do the majority of our work with them across the country. They're innovators in technology. They're certainly innovators in leadership and quality and service. And with that, I'll let TJ Rogers take it away.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate the kind words. And good morning. I'm TJ Rogers. I'm CEO of Accurate Controls. And well, that says I'm president. I'll be that too. So at any rate, So Accurate Controls, we're, who are we? We're an original equipment manufacturer, and we build security automation systems for the corrections industry. Okay, well, does everybody know what a security automation system really is? Okay, so real quickly, security automation system is controlling the doors. Typically, that's done through a device called a PLC, or a programmable logic controller. There's audio systems. You've got a host of manufacturers for that. There's video management, card access, perimeter detection. There are all kinds of different things that are a part of a security automation system. But what an OEM really is brings a method of engineering, software development, manufacturing, okay? So we're really bringing a complete manufactured system to your facility, custom built and maintainable for your facility. That's the key. So, real quick, little introduction. Who is Accurate Controls? Well, we evolved from an electrical contracting company that started in 1974. And that was actually my father, so I am the SOB, the son of the boss, kind of. We're business partners. He financed me when I was 22 to start Accurate Controls in the corrections market. But why that's important is Accurate Controls, Rogers Electric was the name of the company, started working with a company called Modicon that invented the PLC in 1968. So we started doing automation in the early 70s when automation was a new thing. And in the late 80s, I grew up in the electrical industry, was a journeyman electrician, said I would never be in the electronics or electrical industry, but I got there. And when I got out of college, a good friend of mine got his first job with the Department of Corrections. And back in the late 80s and early 90s, everything was proprietary. A company would manufacture a system, it was installed, and when that happened, that manufacturer, or that company like ourselves, not like ourselves, but a company that would install it, owned that product. And the company or place that had that system had to work with them, right? And so the state of Wisconsin came to me, I was 22 years old, and said, hey, look, we want to build our own system. We want you to build a system, but at the end of it, we want it to be industrial grade. We want it to be serviceable by us, and we want to be able to own a logic inside of that. So that's how our company was formed. And so since then, we've been developing non-proprietary security automation systems utilizing third-party available equipment and developing software that is open architecture. Okay, so that's the premise of our system. So who we are. We have a pretty large manufacturing facility in Ripon, Wisconsin, which is in the central part of Wisconsin, about an hour north of Madison. We have a lot of employees. And the most, we've grown to be the largest system integrator, as Joe said. But we have just under 100 employees. And of our employees, we have 744 years of experience with our company in the corrections market. So why is that important? Going back to Joe's example of pre-qualification, well, you want somebody that knows how to work within your building, right? You want them to have experience in the corrections market. They should know what a jail is. They should know how a device works inside of that environment. And that's why it's important. Another thing we do is we actually are a certified UL 508A manufacturer. And we are certified in Canada and the US. Why is that important? Why is that important is our engineers go to UL every year, and UL comes to our company 4 times a year and inspects our engineering, and inspects our panels, and inspects, and we learn the code requirements. What's interesting is there are very few people in our industry that have that certification. And the reason being is it's really difficult to achieve, and it's really difficult to maintain. But how do you know how something should be built if you don't know the requirements, the certification? To Mike's point, how do you know if it's right if you don't even know how to make it right? So that's something to consider. So there's a lot to do with that. All right. We do a lot of projects. We've done over 700 correctional facilities throughout the US and Caribbean and Canada and other places. So those are some of our primary market area. Now, this is correctional news. Joe talked about it earlier, and I wanted to bring it up. So it's a snapshot of 2017, 2019, and 2020. Correctional News has changed this publication a little bit last year, so I didn't include it. But basically, it shows that we are the biggest. However, but it shows something else. That's your industry. That's all the people that claim through a publication that are in the industry. Okay, so the industry is not very big. Not all these people play in this market all the time, but it's relevant for the discussion. Now, so the industry is not very big. Some people are brokers, some people are installers, some people don't have a lot of credibility, and that's why, again, to talk about what Joe talked about, it's really critical from a purchasing perspective that you qualify the people that are going to build your system, that are going to build your facility. And it's paramount to the success, short term to get the project done, but long term, when you think about you're going to build this job once, right? And it might be 50 years before you get another one. And you have a capital expenditure to have a system that's going to work and withstand the test of time. And not a lot of times they do. I was talking with somebody last night about an issue, spent a lot of money, and it's not working right for him. Jason Lowy from our office here, come and talk to him. He's dealing with a county that it's not our system, but they called us for help. So it's really important that you guys think about that as you're building your new facility or getting a new project. So one of the biggest things, kind of going back to 1989, 1990, is non-proprietary approach. Okay? Our industry, traditionally, there are 2 fractions. Okay? There's a hardware approach and a software approach. The industry is not very big. A good majority of our industry has a proprietary hardware approach. But a good majority of our industry has a non-proprietary hardware approach. Okay? So that's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry. However, software is a different story. Actually, a good majority of our industry offers really a proprietary system that's locked down. Okay? So once you get it, you have no other options but to work with that company. Okay? So software is a really big deal. And I've talked about this probably ad nauseum. If anybody's been to other seminars, they've heard me talk about this. I've written articles. I've been at seminars. Our company talks about it. So it's really important to learn that what is proprietary, what is non-proprietary, okay? I'm going to give a couple examples here. All right, so this is our industry perspective. This was an advertisement that was run for several years in correctional news. And our industry, in the bottom right-hand corner of this ad that was run throughout the industry, it says, advanced integration is proprietary, deal with it. Pretty bold statement, right? However, how do you avoid it? All right, so let's talk about that for a second. So you can avoid it. And here's accurate controls perspective. The specified system should allow anybody with a development license the ability to modify that software. Okay? So, and I'm gonna call out CML. They're one of our competitors, but also good friends, and sometimes we work together. They have a non-proprietary software platform that they work on. Okay? And see, here's how it works. If they have an owner that wants to verify if the software is actually open into architecture, they'll send it to us. We'll open it up, we'll look at it and say, yeah, we could modify this, no problem. We'll write a letter and say that. Now they can send it to Indusoft, which is what's called SCADA software, or Wonderware, another equivalent to Indusoft. But we do that as well. And transversely, we'll send them our logic too, and they'll certify it. So what that means is we can work on their system, they can work on ours. But that sort of situation is actually an anomaly in our industry. So why is that a big deal? Well, here's the big deal. You get a call, you get a system, brand new system, and your system doesn't work, or it wasn't installed properly, or they're not coming back to service you, or they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for a maintenance contract. Well, guess what? You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice to go anywhere else unless you want to redevelop it. And here's the hard part. The sheriff, where's the sheriff? Sheriff, you've just stuck your neck on the line and talked about you need a new facility. And you got this system in your facility. And now you got an operational budget to manage. And you got this thing that you can't really manage, but now you have to absorb that cost in your operating budget. It happens all the time. We get calls weekly about this. So it's a big problem. So how can you avoid it? Okay, there's ways you can get around that. So if this is important to you, there's 4 things you need to think about when you're buying it. Number 1 is the requirement should be the software should be developed in what's called the SCADA package, utilizing the logic inside that SCADA package. And it shouldn't utilize a compiled file. Now, I could get into software. I'm kind of getting a little off track, so I apologize if I do. But a compiled file is like when you open up your computer and you see all those files in the background that don't mean anything to you, but you can't open them, you can't modify them. So those compiled files are where the logic resides in your system. I can't open it. JJ can't open it at CML. Nobody can open it except for the company that built that file originally. So a compiled file would be an extension, a .NET, .exe, or .dll. There are other ones, but those are the primary ones. So interestingly, our industry, you'll see advertisements from our competitors that will say, it's non-proprietary, it's easy to work on. You can service it yourself, but guess what? You can't. It's even more interesting is if you read a specification, and how many people have read a technical specification for a project, but you'll read a specification that will call out non-proprietary software. Then at the page 2 of that same specification will say, but you can do .NET extensions. Okay, so they told you it was non-proprietary, but now they allowed themselves the ability to proprietarize it, and it sneaks past everybody. Okay, so it's a problem. Number 2, I think we're on number 2. Or the last thing is at the end of the project, the integrator should turn over the passwords, should turn over the source codes. It should be authenticated by maybe one of your competitors or the manufacturer of the SCADA software. In addition to that, the integrator should train the owners, their IT staff, and show them how the logic was created, where it was created, show them how it was developed. And in addition to that, we should be providing a development license in your name so you could manage it yourself. In other words, arm you with the ability to replace us, okay? And I get asked this question, well, why would you want to do that? Well, I think, and I know CML thinks the same way, that if we give you the ability to replace us, it's going to matter to take care of you, okay? Because guess what? We don't hold a gun to your head and say, well, you don't have any other options. Too bad. We say, guess what? We're going to do a better job. And if we don't do a good job for you, guess what? You can replace us, all right? So something I've talked about a lot, I'm really passionate about it. It's really complicated, not tangible at all, but it's really important to the success, long-term success of your facility. Okay. Now, here's another one we get all the time. Most recently, cloud-based services. You're an IT manager, maybe a salesperson will say, hey, why aren't you hosting all this stuff from the cloud? That's really cool stuff. Well, does anybody know really what the cloud is? I mean, I kind of sell technology and I still wonder. So, I got this little video that kind of tells you, kind of shows you what the cloud really is. And it's kind of funny, so hopefully you don't mind if I take a couple minutes to show this.
Senior correspondent. What the devil is the cloud?
Kitty, the cloud. You are going to explain this extremely complex piece of technology. Yeah. This is funny already.
Yeah, hey, listen to me. I did some serious research on this, and by that, I mean I looked it up on Wikipedia, and here's Wikipedia's definition of the cloud. Cloud computing is an information technology paradigm that enables ubiquitous access to shared pools of configurable system resources.
Yeah. So, what does that mean in layman's terms?
I think it means Wikipedia doesn't know either. Here's what I know. The term cloud is very misleading. It makes you think, oh, my stuff is up there in the atmosphere, floating around, being protected by Jesus. In reality, when you send all your digital files to the cloud, whether it's your photos on your phone, your emails, music, whatever, you're really just sending stuff to someone else's much bigger computer.
Well, whose?
Apple's got one, I think, and Google's got a few.
Yeah, and where are they?
Oh, there's one at Apple. There's another one out the back of Google, I think.
Okay, look, how big are these computers?
Oh, mate, they are massive. Somewhere around like 1 million megabytes each.
That's a terabyte. That's a hard drive about this big.
Come on, Chuck. It's not the future. The point I'm trying to make is that the cloud is really just a storage box, but because you can't see it, it's hard to visualize. That's why I've brought in this big box. Now, imagine my box is the cloud.
Okay, hang on. I'm not sure that's the best way for anyone to imagine the cloud.
Well, yes it is, because look, you can put anything in my box. It's huge. Look, let's put all your music in there, all your digital files, the stuff on your laptop. We've got your family photos, all right?
Hang on, that looks that looks like my stuff.
Yeah, I just went and took it.
You went and took my stuff?
Yeah, well, I didn't ask you because that's what the cloud does. It just takes your stuff without asking. It's like when I'm cooking. It's exactly the same as when I'm cooking. My mum just keeps putting stuff away before I'm finished with it. I'm like, Mum, come on. I was still using the bacon and the ham and the butter and the Baileys, for God's sake.
Jesus, what are you cooking?
Oh, just a little Saturday morning pick-me-up. Anyway, just...
Wait, hang on. That doesn't look very secure, Kitty.
I know. That's what makes it an exact replica of the cloud.
Hang on. Wait, someone just went into the box.
Into my box.
Look, can we just say the box instead of your box? Look, that guy. Look, this guy.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
This is what happens. The cloud gets hacked all the time. I don't know why people put everything in there, honestly.
Wait, hang on. People put stuff in there. Well, people put stuff in there because it's a very easy way to back up your files, and it's also very convenient. I mean, if I can access the cloud from anywhere, 24/7, anytime I want.
Yeah, righto, Zoot review for the cloud. Thanks very much for that.
Well, it's just so convenient.
My point is it's not safe. We just saw the cloud get hacked right in front of our very eyes. And we hear about famous people having their photos and emails stolen from the cloud all the time, so why do we keep putting stuff up there? I'm just saying, with my track record, would you really give me another crack at looking after not only your photos, but all your other important documents as well?
No, of course I wouldn't.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say. The cloud is not safe. The cloud can't be trusted.
Wait, who is that? Kitty, who is that guy?
This is what happens, Chuck. Identity theft. Because you put your stuff on the cloud.
Would you please thank Kitty?
All right, so I think that's a really good representation of what the cloud is, right? And so the cloud, you're probably getting asked about it. You technical people saying, let's do this cloud thing. You have salespeople out there saying, we can host stuff from the cloud, okay? And some of it is really good. As a matter of fact, video management systems, really cool. Somebody wants to be able to watch video from their phone or their tablet, that's a good way to use the cloud maybe. And that's being routed through the cloud. However, when you do that, you've got a portal into your system, your really sensitive video. And is it safe? That's a good representation of it. You don't know if it's safe or not. It's really up to the management of the people that are securing your data, as well as your people internally that are managing the portals into your system, along with us. In addition to that, there's some other things you got to be aware of. Some companies are not telling you this, but some integration companies are actually doing things like passwords. They're managing your passwords to your system, your identity of your staff in the cloud. They're hosting that. There's a thing called Active Directory. That's an interface that does your access control. It maybe goes to your whole HR department uses Active Directory perhaps, so your employee number, your name, your social security number, all that stuff is in Active Directory. Now, those interfaces to the security automation system are hosted through the cloud. Another thing like Cisco, it's a great hardware platform, but they've done this where everything is remotely managed. And integrators like us are promoting integrating remote management through the cloud of your entire system. And that's really awesome, but kind of like the proprietary, non-proprietary, long-term maintenance contract issue, now you have a subscription that you're going to pay the integrator. You're going to pay the integrator so that you get your passwords, you get your Active Directory interfaces, you get your video call-ups the way you thought that you were going to get them. You're going to have them manage your network remotely, and guess what? If you don't pay it, you don't get any of that stuff, okay? And it's something that is happening. It's something that you should be aware of. We don't believe in that. And I know CML doesn't either, so I keep pointing to them, but they're the advocate here today. But it's something that you should be cognizant of as you're buying your system. And if you're not aware of it, again, it's not tangible. So you're building your first jail. You're not a software engineer. You're not a network engineer. You're not an electrical engineer. Well, how do you know? Okay, so it's really difficult to manage that, and it's something I think you should be aware of. Okay, so one of the other things we did years ago is steel cell. You see it out there. Steel cell makes cells. Okay, and years ago we had, back when we did a project, steel cell would build the cells, and the electrician would run all the conduit. And then after the conduit was installed, then they'd run all the cables, and then they'd go back in the cells and install the devices. And then once the devices were installed, the head end was done, we could actually install the head end equipment, terminate all those devices, and then we could start the system. That's how it was done traditionally. Well, many years ago, about 10 or so, right, Mike? We had an issue where the project wasn't in budget. And the electrical contractor said, man, if I didn't have to install the conduit and wire and manage all that time, we could probably get this job in the budget. So we looked at ourselves and steel cell, polyjail, accurate controls, we put our heads together and figured out a way to factory install all the security, all the conduit, all the electronics into Mike's cell. So that's what the modular control system is. So at Mike's cell, or Mike's plant, he manufactures in the cell all the conduit, raceway, wire, electronics, and a truck comes, picks it up, takes it to your project site, and delivers the cell complete. And once the building gets all done, the conduit, one conduit to the first run of cells is installed, and we're done. So we've just eliminated a ton of time, and a ton of effort by the electrical contractor and general contractor, ourselves, and everybody else. So, the modular control system is a very efficient process to reduce cost, overall cost. Now, we've done a lot of projects. We've done over 4,000 cells this way throughout a number of projects from Michigan to Indiana to Georgia to, I think, Kansas, Missouri, a lot of places. Now, here's the key. Wayne County Jail is a good example of this. And this number came from the estimator at Barton Mallow. The cost savings was just under $5 million when we implemented the modular control system. So a lot of cost savings, but it's even more than that because we saved all that time too. So when you're building a project and you're looking for efficiencies, you're looking for how do I make the cost of this project, how do I maintain or manage the cost, I should say, this is something that you may want to consider. It's very efficient. Yes, Joe?
Well, let's see, you just touched on it, but we have several construction management firms that are here today that have done rear chase modular door controls. So we know about the cost savings from the electrician. Why don't you let one or two of them address how much time it took out of the general conditions to finish that job up? So normally what happens on any size job, last 2 or 3 months, we're trying to get all that electrical work done. So you walk out in the day room and there's 8,000 miles of spaghetti, right?
Yes.
And now we don't have that, so ask one of them that are in here to address how much time that's taking.
All right, so is Rob Train in the house? Or Todd Butler? Oh, they're not. Okay, so they don't get called on. Hey, I'll tell you what. Oh, Todd's here. There he is.
So, we're working in rear chases, very tight space. Hold on a sec. Thank you. Working in those rear chases, it's a very tight space. You're typically limited to one guy in there working on a lift. You have to start with what's at the top and work your way down. Anytime you can eliminate any step in that process is time saved on your job. It's it's just a much more efficient process having those cells show up with the PLC boxes on the back and link seal just to plug those right together. Huge cost and time saving for us in the field.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. Anyway, there are other folks here that have implemented it. River City, Garmong. If I missed a few people, I apologize. But it's really efficient. It saves a lot of time, a lot of effort. The quality of control goes up dramatically. It works great. So it's a technology that we collaborated together on and we brought to the market, and it's been a very reliable solution. All right, so innovation. So Accurate Controls, we work with a lot of people to bring innovative products to the corrections industry, things that haven't or aren't otherwise available. So what we do is we collaborate with them, we help them engineer it, and then we offer it to them so they can sell it to the entire industry. It works really well, maintaining the non-proprietary approach. So one of the new innovations that has come up, and this coincides with the whole mental health and software environment within corrections application. And so it's twofold. It's a company called Audiotech, and actually started through locally through a couple engineers that we know that at one time actually worked for a company. And they created an audio distribution system over IP, network, and they evolved that technology to be a full-blown audio communication system that is IP in nature. So it has all these really awesome functionality, Well, it does more than that. So why bring this new technology to the industry? Well, in the mental health example, we have more troubleshooting skills with the system. We have better audio quality, but we can do other things like provide music distribution, or we can do sound masking within your cell. So if it's a loud environment, hey, it's your first night in the general population unit, right? You're probably freaking out a little bit. It's probably uncomfortable. Well, maybe you want to mask the noise outside so you have a comfortable environment. We have one facility that's actually at night, they allowed their occupants or inmates the ability to select different white noises like ocean sounds or nature sounds or anything that calms the environment down. So it adds a lot of functionality. In addition to that, we can add alternate functionality. I'm going to talk about lighting control and temperature of control of lighting as well. So this is something you may want to consider. It provides a lot of functionality, a lot of different feature sets that aren't currently available, okay, or hadn't traditionally been available. So this is a product that is being distributed through Quam out of Chicago. It's all a USA manufactured product. Another thing that we're working on with Charlie, and this is something that we've talked about for lots of years, haven't we, Charlie? Yep. And what we have is an IP detention lock, okay? And why is this important? Okay, so it's important. Well, let me show you what it is. So, so basically, in traditional sense, you run 8 or 9 number 14 gauge conductors from your control station to your head-end equipment, or from the lock to the head-end equipment. In this case, you're on a category 6 cable. You plug it in, and now you can control your lock. That's all it is. So now you have one Cat 6 cable versus a bundle of wire like that. So why is this important? Well, it's important because now we have all kinds of functionality that we can bring to the lock. Traditionally, we can monitor the lock position and the door position. We can control the lock. We can unlock it, we can relock it, we can hold it open. But that's really about it. This functionality will allow us the opportunity for advanced monitoring. So now we can monitor, is the lock bolt all the way pulled in or is it all the way extended? We can do other things. We can create reports about the number of times that door's actually been unlocked. We can have fault reports. So if there's an issue, we can manage that. But we can also do other things like we can monitor the temperature of the lock. We can monitor the voltage draw or the current draw of the lock or motor. So we can better troubleshoot what's going on with that lock and manage that lock. We can give you prompts to say, hey, it's time to service that lock. It's been unlocked this many times. So all of those things are built in this lock, okay? So it's a really cool function. Now, let's get back to constructing our facility. Why is this important? Well, it's important because you have a video management system, right? That's all network cabling. It's Cat 6 cabling. Now you have an audio system that's also Cat 6 cabling. Now you have a door control system that is also Cat 6 cabling. Well, anybody that has ever built a jail, like Joe just said, you typically, traditionally, you have a conduit system for each individual system. So the video management system is a conduit system and has all the wire cable in that installed in it. The audio communication system is a separate conduit system. All the cables are installed in that. Door control is a class 1 circuit. You have all the cables and it has to be separated. Well, now you don't have to do that. In addition to that, you might not even have to put it or want to put it in conduit, because it doesn't have to be. So we've just consolidated, combined everything into one type of cable installed now. Instead of by an electrical contractor, it could be installed by a teledata contractor, which is a different class or different contractor, and it's much more cost effective. So increased functionality, decreased costs, better efficiencies across the board. So it's a new technology. We're bringing this out here. See it happen in 2022 into 2023. Right, Charlie? Absolutely. Okay. So IP lock, that's pretty cool. Okay. So the other thing, that was developed, again, Charlie and our team, Pauly Jail. Another thing, steel cell. Mike talked about in his presentation, lighting control through the modular control system. This, again, was a collaborative effort between steel cell, Kennel Lighting, and Accurate Controls. And it's Mike's product, but what we're doing is we're controlling the light fixture. We're controlling the light temperature, and we're controlling the light level. And this is how it coincides, the whole integration component. This is how it coincides with the integration system. So now you have an intercom that can also be a lighting control that can control their own temperature in their room. So if you have a person that maybe wants to dim the light or maybe they want a different light temperature in their environment, they can do that. Or maybe your healthcare provider says this person has a mental health issue and we need a cool, subdued mood inside that room. The lighting does that, right? So Dane County, you guys did a study on this, right? To provide, how did it work out? I'm putting you on the spot here. Yep, that's exactly what it, so thank you. I put you on the spot, I hope you don't mind. I should have prompted you on that, I didn't. All right, so lighting control. You know, people have issues with that. Circadian rhythm, keeping people sleeping when they normally sleep, awake when they should be awake. It's using light temperature to create energy, taking light temperature to create a subdued mood or a more relaxed environment. That is what can be done now through the steel cell module. And you know, so this is something else you may want to consider as you're building your new facility. Now I want to bring one thing up that really hasn't been addressed, I don't think, but Joe talked about it in his presentation, Mike talked about it in his presentation, and that is collaboration, okay? The polyjail building team, the manufacturers that work as part of it, we work together to think of ways to improve the facility, to improve the functionality, to improve the environment, and to make it more sustainable. And that's something that we're committed to. And you know, Joe and their team, the polyjail team, we meet with everybody together and think of ways, how can we make it better, okay? That collaboration isn't happening in outside parts of the industry, okay? So along with the pre-qual, it's thinking about, have they worked together before? Because you could say, we want this feature and functionality. If they've never done it with that other party, guess what happens? Finger pointing, well, it's not his problem, it's their problem. It's not my problem, it's their problem. That kind of stuff happens. Even, you know, so that coordination is really difficult, but not in this environment, okay? So that's part of the pre-qual. Those are some of the new technologies that you're going to be able to implement in your facilities if you're interested. Are there any questions? No more questions? Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Yes, sir?
Tell everybody it's time for lunch.
It's time for lunch. Who's hungry? I'm hungry. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.